All right, and welcome to this edition of Granger Talk, the podcast where we explore the exciting events and initiatives here at LaGrange High School. I'm your host, Jamie Bozeman, joined by my co-host, Aiden Blackwell and Keita Placid. Together, we will be your guides through our Spring Happening series, starting with today's focus on our Greenpower program here at LHS. Our host today, our guest today is Mr. Mike Evans, a driving force behind our Greenpower program. Mr. Evans, it's great to have you here on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Could you kind of introduce yourself and share a little bit about your involvement with the Greenpower program here at LHS?
Well, I'm a teacher here at LHS. I'm the AV teacher. I have done a robotics team when I taught engineering here, and the Greenpower initiative has been going on in Troup County for a while. And Mr. Bozeman approached me last year and said, "Hey, I have this interest in bringing this program in. What can we do to get it started?" And it kind of just unfolded from there.
Mr. Evans, I wish I could, you're too kind. I wish I could really take the credit for that. But to tell you the truth, Coach Keita here really he stayed on me time and time again. For those of you that may not know, since this is our first podcast, Coach Keita first came to LaGrange High School here in the early 2000s. He was a parapro and then world history teacher, then had an opportunity to get into leadership and moved over to Lone Cane Middle School. It was there that Coach Keita was introduced to the Greenpower program and really kind of helped facilitate the creation of that program and then the success thereof. And he came to me and was just like, "Jay, we got to do this, man. We got to do this. There's no reason why we shouldn't be good at this at LaGrange High School." So having that constant little chirping in my ear, really kind of kicked it up a notch for me. And, going to you, Mike, and just kind of saying, "Hey, how can we get this going?"
Hey, thank you for those kind words. Hey, I just want to say thank you. I'm blessed to be on Granger Talk today. Yes, I've been at Lone Cane Middle School for about 5 years, and Mr. Chip Giles was one of the co-founders of the Greenpower USA. I was really astounded by what he was doing. Initially, it was more or less of a school-led or district-led, and then he went back about a year later and wrote to the Callaway Foundation to get a $300,000 grant. And from there, it just took off. By the way, and I'm just saying this, when it started, it only was directed towards middle schools. So each middle school only had one car. So at that point in time, that's when Mr. Giles said, "Hey, this is really catching on. We need to write this grant." And the Callaway Foundation was really glad to get on board. So,
if we could, and I don't mean to cut you off there, Aiden, but can we go back just a second? So for those people who are brand new to Greenpower, and we've thrown the word Greenpower program around several times here. We talked about cars. Can we just explain, Mr. Evans or Coach Keita, whoever, it doesn't matter, really for those people that are listening for the first time or hearing Greenpower for the first time, what exactly is Greenpower?
Well, a Greenpower is an electric race car. Runs on two 12-volt batteries. And the Greenpower Foundation has a mission statement to try to help advance the understanding of STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics topics, and inspire young people to be innovative through this immersive experience. Basically, this started in Great Britain and then has come across the pond, so to speak, and they're trying to build the program here nationwide. I know that there's teams in Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Indiana, all over the place, and Texas. And basically, the kids will get a kit, build a car up, and then race those cars for 90 minutes on one set of batteries. And basically, you're checking on how far the car goes on a single battery charge and things like that. The first race that we did happened to be raining, so the kids had to make a determination, hey, let's bring the tire pressure down to help us be a little bit more successful in the race and so on. So they're learning, how a car works, an electric car, and then they're starting to graph and do data analysis to increase their performance.
He tells us a little bit about your team. What kind of students are on the team? How do they get to be part of the team?
Well, beginning of the year, we basically had an open call. Anybody that wanted to join had to fill out an application. And then Mr. Betts, who is our co-coach, both of us read through the applications, and we had about 14 kids decide to join. All races, all socioeconomic backgrounds. We have a very diverse team. And through the interview process, we got to see what those kids were like, and then we brought them in and then saw how they interacted, and they got jobs within the team. Every team has a couple of drivers, a pit chief, pit crew. We have to market ourselves, so we have a photographer and a videographer to put it out there, because part of the race, the way the race works is half of your score is a presentation and half of your score is the results of the race. So that first one, the kids had to create a video presentation. Our next race, they have to make a magazine article, and there's a whole grading rubric that goes along with it.
So when we really talk about like what it's doing for our students here at LaGrange High School, I mean, it's not just those students who are on those pathways for, mechanics or engineering or automotives and things like that. I mean, what I hear you saying is that, half of our score is based on, like how we present and sell or market our car. So,
Exactly.
I mean, you're not just necessarily, I'm assuming, looking for students who are good mechanically and can build things with their hands and then kind of problem solve if the car is not running efficient. And we want to make it more efficient, like you were talking about with the tire pressure and all, but you're looking at those kids with that wide range of maybe skills and talents, or bringing people in that may have an interest in marketing and things of that nature.
Well, we try to pull some kids from automotive. We know that they're good with their hands, and our CTA kids who do a lot of hands-on work, those are going to be our pit crew. And then kids with good hand-eye coordination, our band kids, because they have good peripherals, they're our drivers. So we got some kids that are good riders. So we asked a couple of English teachers, and I put them on our multimedia program. So, I mean, it just where they fit their skills sets.
Do you find that most of our kids that we have right now, again, this is our inaugural year, correct?
Yes.
Do we find that most of our kids that we have right now are more of the, I'm going to throw out another acronym, we're good at that in education, but they're more CTAE-oriented kids, like our career technical path kids, instead of like our AP kind of IB general ed students? I say that because of the kind of the building aspect of things, versus have we seen an interest in students who wouldn't generally be more of your CTAE type kids?
Well, most of our leadership basically are our fine arts kids, our band and drama kids. Our pit crew, we have a lot of team members that really didn't have a niche in the school to be a part of. And just like the school's mission statement, the county's mission statement, a place for every kid, we've pulled those kids in to give them something to join, to make them a part of it.
So, Keita, it starts at Long Cane. Does Gardner Newman, do the other middle schools now all have it too?
Yes, sir.
So then how many of your crew were doing it at Gardner Newman?
Well, when we first started this, I reached out to the Gardner Newman coach and said, could you give me a list of all the students that have gone to your program that might be here? Mm-hmm. Those are the kids that I went to first, because they had prior knowledge to help build it. Because at the time, myself or Mr. Betts had never seen this kit. We didn't know what was going on. So I wanted to pull some folks that had some experience. Mm-hmm. One or two decided to join. The others we never heard from. So I made, Mr. Betts and I had discussed, and the ones that had prior knowledge, we put them as pit chiefs and team leaders to kind of help guide the process. And Mr. Betts and I have stepped back just to let them roam free and just give little hint points here and there as we go through.
And for those students that, I mean, the question that Mr. Blackwell, that Aiden asked, I mean, I think it's important to have people on that team that have done this before and kind of know what's going on. But then also, you're starting something brand new. I mean, the coaches themselves didn't know anything about it, really. So have you found the learning curve to be, wide, be big, or is it something that our kids picked up on really quick and man, they just ran with it?
Well, they actually did pick up on it real quick because we pulled a curriculum from Greenpower. Greenpower actually has an educational curriculum that you follow. And if we were to have a quote-unquote Greenpower class, then they would be doing that day by day. Whereas, and that's a lot of the programs in the county. The high schools, however, are a different situation. We have morphed this into an after-school extracurricular club,
Right.
because we don't have a quote-unquote number for a course to match it and do it that way. So we've been going through the manual and things of that nature. And the good thing is, as far as longevity goes, just about everybody on our team, 95% of them are 9th and 10th graders. So we have built to make this thing go farther.
Right. So, Keita, the original funding comes from Callaway Foundation. So now that as more schools are having this program, so now where does a lot of the funding come from?
Well, that's a kicker. The way I figured it up.
So for all our sponsors,
Yeah.
Because it's not
if you're
cheap,
interested,
right?
if you're interested
It
in
is
sponsoring.
not cheap. What I figured up, it was going to be $32,000 for startup.
So what is the kit? So is that the kit? That's $32,000.
The one car is $5,000, and we have two, so that's $10,000. Then you have to buy a trailer to get your stuff to and from. That's another $7,000. Then if you decide to graphically wrap your trailer or the car, that's another $4,000. Then you start adding replacement parts and everything else, and
Tools,
Tools.
toolbox,
everything. And
hotel stay on trips.
yeah.
Swag.
So, Greenpower Troop, which is headed by Matthew Graham, who is the coach at Long Cane Middle, with that foundation that Mr. Giles wrote to, that is the overarching umbrella for the county. Then they supply mini grants from that big grant
Gotcha.
to each program. So Greenpower Troop bought our two cars, so that was an $11,000 grant. Myself and the kids have been going out to the community trying to find sponsors. We have 4 sponsors right now with Matt Orr at State Farm, Michael Stogner with LaGrange Toyota, was Mitchell Marine. Momentum Marine has given us some funds, and Trucks and Stuff has given us funds. So we've raised about $8,000 to $9,000 between us.
And Home Depot donated.
Yeah, and Home Depot also donated a couple of toolboxes, which that was a couple of $1,000s. So we were with Mr. Stogner's funds, we were able to, and the help of Greenpower Troop too, because Mr. Stogner gave us 75% of the trailer. Greenpower Troop kicked in the other, so we were able to buy a 16-foot trailer that's sitting outside. We've already used it for the race. And then, of course, they gave us our cars. With the other funds, we were able to buy our team uniforms and things of that nature, but that's all part of our startup cost. And then going on for future, we're looking probably $8,000 to $10,000 a year to keep the program running. So we'll have to do the fundraising every year. And some schools with their fundraiser will get up some funds to help the coaches out and things of that nature, pay for hotels and things like that. Now, our biggest thing as a high school is some of our kids do not have access to transportation and stuff like that. Whereas the middle schools, a lot of the stuff falls on the parents. So we've been providing transportation. We've been trying to help those low socioeconomic kids as much as we can so that they don't have to come off with as much out of their pockets.
One thing I would like to add, though, in dealing with raising funds, what I love about it, the teachers pretty much release that responsibility for kids going out there and trying to raise some of that funds. I've been a part of a program where basically they have to make presentations for places like Kia as well as Walmart. What I would love to see what we start doing, and I know Mike has it in the works already, kids making presentations to our stakeholders in our community. We have a big manufacturing community here, And I love the idea when he stated the whole idea of career readiness. We get a lot of feedback from people in the community who are manufacturers. Hey, we're looking for this type of person coming out into the workplace. I've had the pleasure of being in a meeting with Diverse Power as well. Kia coming on as board, and Walmart distribution managers. So as we go forward in the future, I see this program really building steam because everything is curriculum driven, like hands-on. And I love the idea where I've walked in the racing room and Mike just lets the kids go and they're problem solving, critical thinking, everything that you would love to see in a classroom. The kids are fully engaged.
It's not just what you want to see in the classroom; it's what you want to see in the workplace. So it's that career readiness, and like obviously this is a needs assessment issue.
Well, in our first race, we got more compliments on our paint job because it was done by hand than these teams going and wrapping their cars. Because we have an art student who's with Miss McHugh, and that
it's phenomenal.
He let her out of class to paint the car, and she's also painting a mural in our workspace.
Well, it's not a STEM, like you're just acronyms for education. It's no longer STEM.
It's
Right now it's
STEAM.
STEAM. Right?
Yeah.
That's our new thing that we're in.
Yeah.
For, so, yeah, absolutely.
So, Mike, tell us about that first race. I mean, we've talked about kind of starting the program here at LHS. We've talked about kind of what goes into it, the funding. What was that first race like? How did we do?
And what is a race? Like, how do you win? Because you said it's like on a battery, how many laps? Is it an actual race? Like, what's that look like?
Well, I mean, just like with NASCAR or anything else, you have a pole position. You start off. The basic race is 90 minutes, and it's an endurance race. It's how many laps you can do in that 90 minutes. Now, you have to have 3 driver changes within that 90 minutes.
Now, can it be the same? Can it be 2 drivers and you're changing?
Yes, it can be
Okay, it
2
doesn't have to be
drivers.
3 different
It
drivers.
doesn't have to be
Okay.
3 drivers. But a driver has to drive between 15 and 45 minutes. So you have that pit aspect. If anything goes wrong with the car while it's on the track, they got to come in. You got to try to fix it. You got to get it out as quickly as you can. So it's basically you're running on one set of batteries for 90 minutes, even including your pit changes and stuff like that. Now, our first race was a bit of a challenge. It was down in Columbus, and it just so happened that it was pouring down rain the entire thing. Now, these races go on rain or shine as long as it's safe. If it was throwing down lightning, they would have canceled it. Mr. Graham on his Facebook page showed a race that happened a couple of years ago in, I think, Knoxville or Chattanooga, and they had about 6 inches of rainwater, and you could see the sprays coming up from the tires like you would a jet ski, a rooster tail. So weather plays a factor in it, and all of our drivers, we've kind of reduced their weight to make the car weigh less.
Training program.
Right.
Exactly. I mean,
Take that
Like
out.
jockeys.
Wow.
you got to have a small driver.
Freshman. You get the freshman
Get the freshman in there. That's why we got them. I mean, because weight's going to play a factor in how long your battery lasts. The kids decided during that race, because the ground was wet and stuff.
So wait a minute, Mike. Do the kids calculate who goes when and what point in time based on their weight?
Well, not necessarily. It's not you don't choose the driver by the weight. We just kind of targeted those to say, all right, these are our potential drivers, and that's where we went. Mm-hmm. Now the kids decided, all right, who has more skill? Mm-hmm. Because in practice, we're testing the drivers constantly to see who's comfortable, who's ready to go, things of that nature, and then they'll plan out their driving order. With that being our first race, we started off a little bit slow. I think we were averaging 1 lap at 2 minutes and 25 seconds. And then we pulled that driver out, put in another driver. She started making laps at 2 minutes and 10 seconds. She was very aggressive. So by watching her perform, we know that that's our go-to driver if we get into a cinch. Mm-hmm. And we're going to keep the other drivers to start off, but if we start falling behind, we're going to pop her in, and she's going to go. I mean, she was neck and neck with Troop for I don't know how many laps. And overall, with that first race, there was only 2 cars that completed the full 90 minutes, and we were the second car of that 2-car run. So with the other schools in our county, they ended up having a lower lap count than we did because they had issues with their car. And so that race, we ended up overall 4th place.
And those are against schools that have been doing this for quite some time.
Yes.
Several years at least.
Several years.
Can you take us a little bit, now that we kind of know what a race looks like and things like that, and I want to kind of plug this name right here because we're thankful for them allowing us to practice in their area. But general practices, if we're not in the actual workspace working on the car itself, kids are getting ready for a race. What are they doing to practice? I look at our sports, venue, just some of our sports that we have. Football, basketball, baseball, band, things like that. Of course, the spring concert coming up. Kemper with his productions, like they have practice time. They've got to learn their lines. They got to learn their moves. They got to learn plays. It's different things like that. What do we do to practice?
Well, being that there's not too many large open areas on the campus, we've been fortunate to contact Sweetland Amphitheater, and they have given the blessing for us to use their space. Right now, with track and field utilizing the track down there, we can't have access to that space. And depending on the day, the thread may have a whole bunch of people on it. So basically, we'll go up to the Sweetland parking lot. I've kind of mapped out a lap grid, and our drivers are going to go in there, get in the car, and drive that grid and learn how to handle the car, how to take a turn properly, to keep the most speed and momentum throughout the turn, and things of that nature. Now, the first time we used Sweetland, one of our drivers was very unsure, and we ended up shifting the entire back axle.
Oh, wow.
And busted the chain. But luckily, our second kit, since we haven't built it, we're using that kit for parts, so we were able to get another chain. So I'm going to have to order another chain through our supplier to reimburse that second kit.
Yeah, while we were talking about our sponsors and things like that and putting those names out there, number one, we appreciate those people donating and giving to the program.
Correct.
But at the same time, I want to make sure that we recognize Mr. Bill Bullock and also Mr. Brent Gibbs, who both work with the city and have given us permission to utilize the space up at Sweetland for testing. I mean, they don't have to do that, but they allow us to go up there and do that.
So if I had someone who wanted to more or less donate, who would I contact in Greenpower?
They can email me directly at evansandmay@troop.org, or they can email LHS Greenpower at troop.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. If you look for LHS Greenpower, our team name is actually Granger Racing, but the header was LHS Greenpower, or they can call the school.
Good deal. So moving forward, looking forward, I know that we have an additional race coming up, which is a pretty interesting race because it's a virtual race, and we're trying to qualify
What
for
is a virtual?
So let's get into that just
What
one
is a
second.
virtual
I know that
race?
All right. Well, through a season, you have to go to so many races to qualify for a national race. Being that we are just starting up and our funds are limited, I've been in contact with Mr. Drew Sparks, who is over Greenpower USA. And they have agreed to let us run a virtual race, and that race will be on Friday, March the 1st. We'll have to use an app to keep track of our distance data, and we will run the race locally and still do everything that somebody that's going to the actual physical race has to do. We'll have to turn in our presentation a week before. We'll have to give them all the data and things of that nature. Then our third and fourth race will be later on in March. We'll have a race again in Columbus on March the 9th, and then there will be the Diverse Greenpower Grand Prix around LaGrange College on March the 23rd, where they'll block off several streets in the town, and the cars will run out. Right now, Nationals is scheduled for May the 3rd and 4th at Talladega Motor Speedway, which the kids will be on the actual Talladega track.
We put a new motor in the car for that. So we can,
Are we going to the infield?
the
for that?
infield.
Yeah,
I love
the outfield and infield. And
I hear the parties are pretty good.
they're even going to tailgate.
No.
They've arranged it to where the kids can camp out that night.
No, we don't want the kids there. That's not a good idea.
So as we kind of wind some things down here, Mr. Evans, I want to kind of touch base. All this sounds awesome. I'm excited about the possibilities of where Greenpower can go at LaGrange High School and how our kids can benefit from this and new opportunities. Talk to us about a couple of challenges that maybe you see the teams facing this year or even moving forward into next year.
Well, of course, finances is going to be the major hurdle for anything. And we still want to grow. I mean, we're sitting at about 12 kids right now. Most team dynamics are running 6 to 14 kids per car. You divide that up because you're going to have a pit chief, you're going to have a couple of pits, you're going to have a couple of drivers. Some teams decide to run 2 cars with just 6 people. It all depends. But we want to try to reach as many kids as we can. And again, give some of the kids that aren't plugged into the school something to plug into.
Mm-hmm. And as we move forward with this program, if we have students that are not actively participating now, what does that look like in the future? So, how can students, teachers at LaGrange High School who may not be connected with the Greenpower program, community members, how can they become more involved with the Greenpower program here at LHS?
Well, community members, I mean, we'll take anybody's welcome. And one of my sales pitches to our investors, if they want to come in and if they're engineers or something and kind of look at what we're doing and give us pointers, come on. We'll take everybody. That was one thing that when we went to Mobis and Hyundai Transys, that their biggest thing is what can we do to help or what will we get in return? Well, hey, I'll give you access to these kids that can be your potential workforce, and y'all can mentor them one-on-one. So that's a huge benefit. If we always ask our parents to come to support their kids, but then also they could provide snacks and stuff during the race or whatnot. But just cheering the kids on, giving them a fan base.
Well, I think we got the 8th grade visit at the end of this month. I think you being out there with a couple of your kids probably in their uniforms would be a great opportunity to get some 9th grade, our future 9th graders here. I would like to see that a lovely selling point for our kids.
Yeah, I think that we have a huge opportunity in that, Coach Keita, especially, because the middle school programs are established. And they've been established for quite some time. Now you go and you see that the elementary schools, like I know Franklin Forest has a team.
The Goblin.
Well, yeah, the Goblin races.
That's right.
So basically, K through 5 has the Goblins, and then 6 through
Is that
12.
a smaller car?
Yeah, it is.
Basically, yeah. And it looks like a fortified tank sometimes.
It's like Mr. Bean in his car.
I mean, metal all around, but same principles. Their kits, the Goblin kits, don't have as many parts or minute parts as the F-24s, which are the big Greenpower kits. And they have their own events, and it's funny. They got a big back wing on them, kind of looks like a stroller if you're looking at it.
So is there collaboration between
That's what I was supposed to ask. I mean, I didn't mean to jump in right
No,
there.
it's like we've heard it sounds like a lot of student-driven leadership opportunity, and are our students going and collaborating and guiding and mentoring these elementary schools?
Well,
Or I was going to say, have we thought about having a day where we bring our feeder school programs over here and doing some type of little deal up at Sweetland with all Granger,
Well, I know.
Greenpower teams?
So to say that I have been a part of that, where since the Long Cane Middle School was so close to the Long Cane Elementary
right
School,
beside each other, right?
so and Matthew Graham, which is the coach for Troup County, he would go over to the elementary school and invite them to see how things work, and they would use their car parking lot. They had access to that, and they would run on there, and he would give them pointers. I don't know.
I think that would be pretty cool.
well, I mean, that's something that we definitely can look at going forward. Right now, I know that our team captain has been asked by Ethel Kite to come and help them start up their program because they have a brand new program.
Who is the team captain?
JT Radcliffe. So that is going on, and he's one of our fine arts kids. He's band, drama, and everything else. So there's that bridge starting to form. I need to, myself as a coach, reach out to the other coaches and see what we can do to help. But those divisions are generally separated, but we do need to build bridges for continuity. I've even reached out to Gardner Newman's coach a couple of times. But this program goes all the way into colleges. Auburn University has a team.
Hey, two things I want to, hit really quick before we get out of here today. You said something a while ago about having potential. We were asking about the idea of how students, teachers, and community members can be involved in our program. And you mentioned something I thought was really important, and that is how the engineers and things like that at some of these industrial park plants could come in and they could, work with our kids. Are there rules that we operate on as far as guidelines on what we can and can't do to a car, like the adjustments that we can make? Are we free to do? So, like, give me for an example. If we realize that we've got a lot of friction going on in the axles that we use, are we allowed to manipulate the bushings or the sleeves in which an axle would rotate in, so it reduces the friction and it rolls smoother, therefore reducing drag, increasing the amount of laps, and lowering lap times? Can we do stuff like that?
Well, that's a good point.
Bigger sprockets, that kind of thing.
Well, within Greenpower, we basically have 3 different levels. You have your stock, which is a kit right out of the box. You can only change like the on-off switch and things of that nature. You have your modified, which you can change certain components in the modified division, and then you have a custom division where you can build everything, including your frame, and make
those
it
3 different races.
Those are 3 different categories, 3 different divisions
Classes,
in
divisions.
it.
Yeah.
And since we are starting out, we have made the decision to stay in stock. So we can tweak a couple of things, but we can't change the bushings out and stuff like that. But that, if we wanted to use ceramic bushings and things of that nature, that's going to send us to the modified classification. And that's our plan for our second car once we start getting everything established.
Gotcha.
All right. Hey, here at Granger Talk, we like you to shout out some of the people who have been important and give your kids, a little shout out. Let us know who are the couple of names that we need to know when we see them around campus. Hey, great job.
Well, of course, JT Ratcliffe is our team captain. Kenny Moore, he is our artist. He did everything with the car and our mural. Kinsley Freeman is our go-to driver. She's the one that's very aggressive. Our other drivers would be Bo Mormon, Yerim Kim, and my mind just went blank. But we have a 4th driver, and then our pit crews are really good.
Okay, awesome. Shout out to Coach Betts. He's a part of the racing team as well.
Yes, he is. He's a big help.
Good deal. Well, Mr. Evans, do you have anything else that you want to add today as far as Greenpower goes and what we're doing with Greenpower here at LHS?
No, I think we did pretty good.
All right, guys. Well, you know what? That's it. That wraps us up for today. We want to give a huge shout out and thanks to Mr. Evans for shedding light on us with this Greenpower, and we're so excited about how Greenpower is going to just impact and drive our students into possibly another pathway in the future. And who knows? I mean, some of these guys could become engineers and work for General Motors, Ford, or something like that, go through Toyota and get a job in that regard. So,
well, see, JT just told me today he wants to go work for Lockheed Martin. He wants to be an aeronautical engineer. So
there you go. Well, that's it for today, guys. Join us next time on our next edition of Granger Talk as we continue to explore spring happenings here at LaGrange High School. As always, go Grangers.